Felicia, what you got for me, honey?
Okay, and then I'm done. I'm sorry.
You good.
Y'all, hey,
That's what
y'all
this
done
call's
woke the
for.
beast up now, so hey, I'm engaged. But it worth charging a convenience fee, like I done did all this work, but now the deal is not closing. So
Mhm.
is it, I mean, like 75, at least $100 convenience fee. That way you can walk away from the table with something. Even though the client didn't close the deal and they're not getting anything, but you putting in all this stuff and.
Yep. So that's a great question. Okay. Great question. I'll answer it here, and it'll also go deeper when you get to, I think it's 2 and 4. We talk about in phase 2 and 4 because of the systems phase. It's needed in the systems phase, but we've done both. We call it a deposit. What she's saying as a convenience fee, we called it a deposit. So we would charge a $75 deposit. It was a non-refundable deposit. And if it fell through, of course, we kept that just to kind of compensate for the time we did spend on it. And if it's closed, then you would pay the balance that was due that would equal up to the 350 or whatever we were charging at the time. And we did that for many years before we switched to what we do now, which is kind of all risk, all reward, which is if it falls through, we don't get paid. And if it, closes, then we just get the full amount at closing. I'll tell you the pros and cons of both. And then you guys just, you have to just navigate what's the best decision for you. The pro of having a deposit is exactly what she says. Sometimes you have 3 contracts that done fell through, and now you have at least something to compensate you for your time. That's the pro. When you're dealing with the government shutdown, a lot of contracts are on hold because if it's an FHA loan, if it's a VA loan, all of these government funded loans are wrapped up in the shutdown and they cannot close because they have to be funded by the government. But there were some closings that fell apart altogether, because just because the buyer can't close doesn't mean that the seller wants to wait and to see what's going to happen with the government shutdown. They may want to cancel because now your finance period has expired where you're supposed to have approval. They may want to cancel and try to go back on the market and get somebody that's doing a commercial loan where they don't have to necessarily be funded by the government and can hold them up. What happens then? You'll pop in here for a second. Okay. Tiffany from the future. I'm actually back in my home office in this clip. But I just want to make sure that if any of you that are watching are aspiring entrepreneurs and are interested in learning the business that I started, that I scaled, and I sustained to this day, 10 years later, I still have this business and it's thriving, doing incredible, and I teach others how to build the same one. I want you to go to tiffany'smasterclass.com, register for my free training. It is live and it is in depth, okay? I do not waste your time. Just because it's free does not mean that I take your time for granted. I give you every single strategy I did to start, everything I did to scale, and everything that I'm currently doing to sustain the success that we have. I shall see you soon. Back to the video. There's for VBS, okay, for my company, we had a lot of things cancel, a lot of contracts cancel, which is not fun because you've already started the work. Depending on where they were in the process, government shutdown, they could have been closing in a few days, okay? So it was not an enjoyable experience. And guess what? Because of how we have it set up, where if it doesn't close, we don't get paid. Guess what? We didn't get anything. Right? Because we don't do deposits anymore. So that is the pro, is that you do have a level of compensation and protection for your time. Your time is not falling into the abyss, which you learn a lot about. I say that a lot as you go through the phases. We don't want our time falling into the abyss. And that's when we're working and doing things and not getting paid for it. Now, here's the con to the deposits that we experienced and that made us change and try something out that we've kept doing. The con is, in a normal situation, not in this current climate with a government shutdown, but in a normal situation, let's say I have an agent, okay? Agent's name is Brenda. Brenda has 10 contracts that month, okay? But Brenda knows 5 of the 10, the buyers are a little shaky. They kind of picky. She don't, this one of them a little cuckoo, because you've been driving around with these people, taking them to houses, the ones they're not all the way, they're not wrapped too tight. So you're like, you know what? I'm just going to give you the 5 solid deals. I'll keep the 5 shaky deals just to make sure that we get past the inspection period. And once we get past the inspection period, Tiff, then I'll give you the other 5, right? This is what Brenda's saying, because Brenda's trying to save her money, right? Which is, that's her prerogative, right? Nobody wants to pay $75. The deal fall through. That's an L to them because now they're just out of $75 and the deal. So she decides to keep those 5. Well, what happens is, let's say these 5 get out of the inspection period and things are going really well. And Brenda says to herself, you know what? I'm just going to keep them. Everything's going smooth. Lender says everything's looking good. Appraisal's already back. It's at value. I'm just going to keep them. I'll close these myself. Now we lose out on closing these 5 deals because she felt like maybe they was being a little shaky. She kind of kept them. And maybe she had intentions of giving them to us midway, but things were going great. She kept them. We saw that more than we like to see. Okay. And they would tell us, be like, I saw, because, you see their emails and everybody that's a TC, we all in their business. And they'll be like, no, Tiff, I'm keeping this one, honey, because Miss Gloria, she's a little eccentric and this may not close. And so I want to just keep it. They'll be very honest with you because, I don't want to pay this deposit and the thing fall through. And you go, okay, because what can you say? Can force people to pay your deposit and send you the contract. And they would keep their deals and then they would close them on their own. And what you don't want to do for us, what we didn't want to do, I don't want to tell you what to do. We didn't want to create a culture with our clients where they were figuring out how to close contracts just by themselves with their schedule, with their running around, and they're figuring out systems and times in the day they can actually do their own admin. We don't want them figuring that out. Okay, no, I don't need you figuring that out. I want you to think that's impossible. Okay, and send me everything. And so we said, let's try it out, because really the standard of the market is to not charge a deposit. We were kind of doing something a little different because of the same challenge that Felicia mentioned. And we decided that we would take that away and just come one, come all. We'll get paid when it closed. And we noticed that our revenue increased by about 20% because clients were giving us everything. And then you still have to experience the L's, which is not fun. I'll tell you right now, government shutdown month has not been fun, right? You still experience the L's. But what I will say is their agent is too. And so there is a shared risk and shared reward because the agent is too. So when those things fall through for them, they're not getting anything and they have to pay the $75. So we have done both. We have been successful in both. When we were doing, I don't know if we switched it by then. I can't remember when we switched it, Tris, but when we were doing 50K months and 40K months, like we had deposits. So we can do 40 and 50K months and we still had an increase after that. So you don't necessarily have to make the decision now if you're in the early phases. Just think about your risk appetite. But those are the pros and cons for both. So hopefully that was helpful to you guys.